We are Maria Jose and Chase.
We've been traveling since 2018 with our dogs Pablo and Jake.
After Chase lost his job, we decided to hit the road.
So we bought an old school bus and converted it into our dream tiny home on wheels.
We had plans to travel internationally, so we sold the bus and bought a van.
But then the pandemic happened.
So we put those plans on hold and decided it was time to explore more of the United States.
We're sharing the highs as well as the lows of this amazing life on the road.
We would love for you to subscribe and join us along this journey. Hi everybody, we are Chase and Maria Jose.
One thing that we've always done is try to be as transparent about the costs involved in doing this as well as pretty much the reality behind it.
Today we're going to be talking about how much it cost us to convert our van.
We always like to detail the total cost of our build, and there are certain things that are going to be variables like the actual cost of the vehicle, but when it comes to the interior components and things like that, you can hunt for good deals, but this is going to give you a really good baseline estimate on what a build like ours would cost you from start to finish. And then just factor in the total cost of whatever rig you're going to be putting it inside.
Yeah, and of course, like you can do it yourself and try to look for cheaper stuff to put inside if you want something a little bit cheaper than ours. But also, if you don't feel confident doing it yourself, you can pay people to do your build.
Or certain aspects of your build.
Yeah, and that's totally fine too. So for us, we did everything ourselves. It's our second build, so you learn along the way. And you learn how to keep things low cost. We still splurge in some stuff, but I think we did a pretty good job. I want to know right now, go into comments and leave a comment on how much do you think our build cost.
We've got a whole lot more of informational as well as entertainment type things on this channel. We would love for you to subscribe, to stick around and join us on this really wild and weird journey of ours.
I know, but for sure, we're gonna have everything linked down below as well. And if you have any request for us of what would you like to see, like more informative or videos in general, let us know as well. So let's start. Are you ready to tell them how much we spent for the van? Let's go.
First and foremost, let's talk about the largest single cost likely of your entire build, and honestly one of the largest variables for the total cost of your build as well, and that's the van that you're going to be building in, or whatever type of vehicle you're going to be building in. So ours is a 2016 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter 2500. There's a lot of information to go with this. There's this two-wheel drive, it's the 5-speed transmission, it's a Sprinter 2500 170 wheelbase. We purchased our van in California secondhand. We didn't necessarily care for finding a new vehicle. It honestly wasn't in our budget at the time either. There were things that we looked for, and there are things that you should look for if you're considering buying a secondhand vehicle. Ours was single owner. It had highway miles and an immaculate service history. We picked our van up and drove it straight back for the total cost of $18,300 after title, tags, and registration were included in all of that. And to give you an idea, that accounted for 51% of the total cost of our build.
If you're new here, I think you should take a look of our build and kind of get an idea of what you're looking at. Let's start with appliances. I believe that's one of the biggest expenses we had in the van, and that includes our fridge, cooktop, water heater, TV, fans. I might be missing some stuff, but the grand total of that is $2,527. How do we keep the cost minimum? For example, our fridge is an isotherm 130 liter 12 volt, and it's a pretty expensive fridge, but we look all over the internet for better deals. So if you're trying to save some cost, make sure to check different places. Like we got ours, it was a floor model, so it was half of the cost. It only had some scratches, but still works perfect. The next category will be electrical, which include our switches all over the van, cables behind the wall. We have our main power with a remote and just like 12-volt connections all over. So that the grand total of that is $329. The solar system and batteries is a completely different category. That's another expensive part.
There are a couple of expenses and categories that we weren't able to really tally up, and that's like the cost of screws and things like that, because that's going to be totally dependent on the way that you decide to build your van. But there are certain things with ours that were very important for us to include. That was what we consider our hardware category. So that's like our L brackets for our bulkhead shelf, all of our door struts that keep everything open, all of our cabinet hinges, our drawer locks, as well as our drawer slides. Those are all included in hardware as well. And that category came up to $1,000.37 in like Murphy bed hardware, pretty much anything that folds, opens, closes, and locks. That also includes our Lagoon table mount. We bought it from Lagoon directly with some factory defects, so we saved about 25% on the total cost of that as well. While we're talking about other kind of odds and ends expenses, we do have one category specifically for flooring. We bought life-proof vinyl flooring. I think we had 5 boxes of that total, and that came up to $295 for all 5 of those boxes. It's a click lock, super easy to install, and it's scratch resistant and waterproof. So super handy in this type of environment, because you never know what type of water, mud, things you're gonna spill and drop on it. It's super worth it.
Next, we're gonna be talking about interior. There's things in the interior that were not enough to be their own category. So it's kind of things that were like not 100% necessary, but there were things that we wanted to add to our van to add character. The grand total of this is $537. For example, we have our acrylic mirror, our sofa, the foam, we have our trash, laundry bag, the caning for our cabinets, the texture that we added to the walls. Paint for the van wasn't as expensive as in the bus because, well, the bus we had paint the outside. In here, it's pretty much all inside. We used 5 gallons of paint. That gave us the total cost of $131.
It's appropriate that I'm sitting on our toilet because I've added it to the category of plumbing. Even though there's nothing on our toilet that requires any form of plumbing, our last build, our toilet was very much integrated into our plumbing system, so it just felt natural. The entire cost for everything in the plumbing category is $2,228. We used all PEX tubing as well as EvoPEX shark bite fittings, which came to be the bulk of all of the cost of everything. This also includes our Seaflow 12-volt water pump. It includes our 4-stage water filtration system for drinking water for us and the dogs, because you never really know the total quality of the water that you're getting while you're on the road, so it's always handy to have some way to filter the water, 1 coming from the tap into your tanks and 2 from your tanks to your cups. In the plumbing cost, we've also factored in our gray water tanks, which we have 2 gray water tanks, and we have a 46-gallon freshwater tank that's situated inside the van. That also includes all of our shower hardware, so our faucets there, as well as our faucets at the kitchen sink. Our one-way HEPVO valves, which are super handy. It totally erases the need for any type of P-trap because it's a one-way valve, so things can only go one direction. They are a little pricey. One tip, never buy them in multiple packs. Always just buy as many as you need, 1 pack individually. But that pretty much encompasses everything in the plumbing category. It was significantly more expensive than in our bus build, but the materials that we used were a little bit better all-weather type of things. And now that I've gotten off the toilet, I can tell you about our shower. So it's a total wet bath. The total cost for everything in here was $1,028. We did use actual ceramic tiles in here, but we offset the weight by going with a very, very lightweight and thin Ouija board. It's foam with 2 sides of waterproof material that you can tile directly to. So we have the Ouija board, our tiles, our mortar, our grout, our Nautilus shower door, which is very compact, safe, space saving, and it cleans itself, which is really cool. Our shower pan, which we got at about half the cost by finding it on eBay, which was really handy. And our soap dispenser, which we don't have anything in it right yet. We just recently filled up some reusable bottles at a spot in Nashville, so we just kind of kept them in there for the time being. We also have a waterproof toilet roll holder to keep our toilet rolls from getting wet while we shower, because again, this is a total wet bath. We don't take the toilet out to use it, we just use it.
If you can tell, pretty much everything in our van is made by wood. So we put a whole category of wood materials, which includes our countertop, drawer faces, trim pieces, walls, ceiling, pretty much all of it. And the total cost of that is $1,793. As well, you can also find materials that are a little cheaper or thinner, or even wood that you can like use for free. There's places like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. There's tons of free materials that you can use in there and save some money. When we were building the van, we knew we wanted to be as safe as possible. That's why we didn't do any propane, all electrical. But as well, we added some things that are a peace of mind and 100% recommended. For example, our smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector are a must-have for us. And the total cost of that was $54. After we hit the road, we knew that we needed to get some fire extinguishers. So we stopped and got 2, and they were $20 a piece. I will 100% recommend it, so that will bring the cost to around 95 bucks.
There are obviously going to be categories that cost a lot more than other categories, and appliances was definitely one of that. The vehicle was, again, our most expensive category, and solar was our second most expensive category. So that includes everything from our solar panels to our inverter, charge controller. That includes all of our cables for that, as well as our lithium iron phosphate batteries. We have 4 142 amp hour lithium iron phosphate batteries. We were able to source those secondhand, the most that any of them had ever been used, from full to totally depleted, was 19 times, and we were able to pick up all 4 of those for $500 a piece, which is a huge savings in comparison to some of the other lithium battery manufacturers that are on the market. Some of the other things, we tried not to include any tools that we purchased, because many of the tools that we used for the build we borrowed from family members. There were a few that we purchased. In the solar category, I did include those because they were things like MC4 crimpers, solar cable cutting like scissors, if you will, and some of the hardware components to extend or shorten some of the cables that we had for the solar system. The entire cost and all-encompassing cost for our total solar system was $4,727. And that's 600 watts of solar up top, just shy of 600 amp hours of lithium iron phosphate battery, and we have a 3000 watt Victron energy inverter. That also includes a 225 amp lithium iron phosphate battery isolator, so when we drive, that charges our batteries as well. So we were able to truly configure a system that was the best for us in a totally propane-free build for under $5,000. One of the most important categories is insulation, because that's going to be what ultimately helps you stay comfortable in many different environments. And with insulation, we used a Froth Pack 620, that's 620 square feet, sprayable from Lowe's, our Reflectix, and some foam board for below the floor. So that total cost was $998. That's truly anything from vapor barrier to spray foam to our floor foam and our ceiling foam. That also includes sound deadener. We did use 2 large cases of kill mat to reduce vibrations and sounds, as well as to be kind of an extra layer of insulating membrane. And then on the flip side of that, one of the things that we added to our van that we didn't add to our bus build was a diesel heater. Most Mercedes Sprinters up until recently were totally diesel engines, and their fuel tanks for the most part have auxiliary fuel adapters. for things like diesel heaters or other diesel appliances to run off of. We lucked out and we were able to tap into our fuel tank by way of that adapter for our diesel heater. There are many options that you can buy for diesel heaters to keep your van warm and to truly unlock the 4-season potential of an adventure rig like this. We decided to take our chances and use what is lovingly referred to as just a cheap Chinese diesel heater. 7 months on the road now, and we absolutely love it. We've used it almost once or twice a week, average the entire time we've been on the road. The cold weather just somehow manages to find us. Instead of spending $1,000 or so on some of the better known brands, we're able to get an 8 kilowatt system for $175 total. Is another one of those money saving tips.
For the next part, I think it's the smartest if we take you outside. For the exterior, this includes everything that we use to install our solar panels on the top and everything that make any hole we made on the van waterproof. The grand total of these is $208. Our van, when we first purchased it, it didn't have any windows in it. So if you would like some windows, I would recommend to look for a van that already has them installed. But if they don't, we installed 3 windows, which brings us a total of $1,000, 1 on the side and 2 in the back.
There are a couple of expenses that we didn't add to what we consider to be the total cost of our build, because when we set off on the road, they weren't there. They're just things that we've decided to add after the fact, upgrades if you will. Tires are one of those. This set cost about $1,000. We're not including that in the cost because the tires that we had were perfectly fine and we would have been perfectly fine without ever upgrading those. But one thing we did decide to add and did make it to what we consider the total cost of the build to be is a Boss airlift support suspension kit. This was $375. It's an all-encompassing air ride kit that just levels out the back a little bit more. It makes the ride quality a little bit better, and it gives us some additional clearance. It's almost like adding an overall suspension upgrade to your van. So ride quality, ride height, everything makes it a little bit more stable as well. So suspension, that made it to the list. And then the last component, it's just kind of a running joke when it comes to our build guides and our build costs. I like Red Bull quite a bit, so Red Bull made it as a category in our bus build. I can say we spent a little bit more money in Red Bulls on the van build over a slightly longer period of time than our bus build. So the last and final category of our total van build is Red Bull, and I spent $82 on 12-ounce Red Bulls over the course of this build.
After mentioning everything in our build, we can tell you the grand total cost. But if there's anything that we missed, or if you want to see detail by detail everything we use in our build, we have a free guide, so click the link down below to get more in detail what we spent all our money in.
That's unit per unit, the total number of certain specific items. The one thing that it doesn't calculate is tax. Some items had tax already included in the total cost, but tax is going to be one of those things that differs based on how and where you buy and where you live. So that's totally up to you guys to factor that up for the area that you're in. Another thing to keep in mind is that most of the materials and items were purchased between February through April and May of 2020. So there are some items that we do know for a fact have increased in cost, like the wood materials. There are other items when we were going through our Amazon orders that I realized have decreased in price pretty significantly. So I think it all offsets.
So how much was the total cost?
The total cost for everything, including the price of our van, was $35,859 all in.
I don't think it's that bad.
When you consider a pre-built van, or you consider something like a Travado at $110,000, $120,000,
Yeah.
or other used Class Bs.
Yeah, they're around like $70,000. or like if you prefer to get a bill by someone else.
You're talking their $60,000
Yeah.
before including the cost of your van.
So let us know if that was the price that you had in mind, if it was more or less than you thought, and if there's anything else that you would like to see from us, let us know as well in the comments down below. Subscribe and give us a like and just be part of our journey. It means the world to have you here. We'll see you all next Sunday.